Welcome back to the In and Out Talks podcast powered by Tier 1 Performance. Your host, Mitch Matulia, here with Jordan Powell. Today's special guests are very close to myself. My father, Martin Matulia, my grandfather, Ken Matulia, otherwise known as Pops and Papa. Guys, welcome to the podcast. We really appreciate you guys taking the time.
Truly a household inbound is great.
Man, we got a lot of awesome topics to get into today. But first and foremost, Papa, we'll start with you, the patriarch. A little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and when you got started in sports.
I got started in sports when I was in elementary school. I grew up in Pennsylvania, Stratford, Pennsylvania, a small town in western Pennsylvania outside of Pittsburgh. Went to played high school ball, then went to college in Reedley, California, and got married and been all over the country.
He was a quarterback at Reedley College.
I was about to say, Papa was a collegiate quarterback. And were you a quarterback your whole entire career, or is that something that you started picking up in high school?
No, I was a quarterback in high school and college.
Very nice. And what other sports did you play aside from football?
Baseball, basketball.
The American League, the trifecta. And how was it? I mean, because you guys played in single bar. You showed me a photo recently of your senior season, and you guys had one bar across your helmets in football.
That's right. My first year, only 7 of us received that bar, not the whole team, just 7 players.
Only the 7 important players with the prettiest faces got there.
Well, I don't know if they were the most important, but maybe they were the ugliest and trying to hide us. But that was it.
They were the ones that had teeth. That's why.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that lost teeth. That's for sure.
They had dental.
Yeah.
And those are back in the days where they would give you guys salt tablets in the summertime during two-a-days. Was that a thing back then, Papa?
I'm not hearing you too well.
Can you hear me?
This is feedback.
You're kind of muffled, Mitch.
Okay. Testing.
There we go. That's
There's
better.
a lot
better.
Yeah.
But now he's mute.
Okay.
Okay, now it's better.
All right, now it's better.
Yeah.
All
Awesome.
right.
Awesome.
Yes,
So,
I'm
Papa, were those back in the days where you had like wool uniforms, salt tablets during two-a-days in like August?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Full uniform.
Yeah. Full uniforms, first day of practice.
So
What
needless
was
to
the weather
say-
like when you were there?
What's that?
What was the weather like in Pennsylvania when you were playing?
It was hot in the summer.
Yeah.
Uh,
They wouldn't get water. Coach wouldn't let them have water.
we were not permitted to drink water at all, and we
Really?
walked about a half a mile to the practice field, and there was at the bottom of the hill one house that had a hose outside of the house, water hose, and we'd sneak and get that water. If it'd catch us, we'd be running the next day.
Really?
We took salt tablets every day. I don't know what that was all about.
Well, actually, that's ahead of their time because there's tons of sodium in salt tablets, and you're like, whenever you're sweating, you're losing sodium. So there's actually some science behind that. And I mean, guys drink salt packets now today, and like with electrolytes to stay hydrated. So maybe they're onto something.
Well, I don't think going without water was too much.
We were not permitted to drink water. My coach was a graduate. He played for Pitt. He was a lineman at Pitt, so he brought that stuff up. I had a couple of good backfield coaches, for the local guys, but they were good. They all went to college, and they played in college. I had
Well-
good coaching in high school.
Well, Pennsylvania in general is known to be a very blue collar state. I mean, needless to say, would you say that your generation is much tougher than the kids that you see out there today and the guys at the professional level?
No, I don't think so. I think the guys today are much better.
I mean, athletically, I'm sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
without a
I
doubt.
mean, they were tough, obviously.
Tough times.
Tough kids.
Yeah, but we were the whole teams were smaller,
Yeah.
lighter in weight.
Smaller, not as fast.
Was
When I
like
played baseball, there were no fences in the outfield for any team, none.
so every home run was like technically an in the parker.
Yeah.
You had to hit the hole and have it run hard to get a home run. That was it.
He was really good in basketball, too. He was better in basketball than baseball.
Yeah,
Really?
basketball.
Jordan was a basketball guy.
I was a basketball guy till Oh, I don't know. Like
So
high
Actually,
school.
in high school, I was football first, basketball second, baseball third.
What made what? When did you finally turn baseball to number one?
football stayed number one.
Football stayed number one for quite a while. Yeah, when the boys started getting older, my first son started getting older, and he got hurt
In
in
high school. Yeah,
high school, and that's when we sort of turned over to baseball mostly. But they still played football. Everybody played football. All three of my sons did.
I mean, do you feel like playing multiple sports impacted you athletically and made you a better overall athlete by playing multiple sports instead of just sticking to one?
I don't know. I I think so, maybe, but today I don't think you can do that. The pressure is so high, and the talent is so good that if you take seasons off, I think you're going to be hurt.
It's becoming more of a specialized game, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah. I enjoyed playing three sports. I really enjoyed that because we finished football and had the weekend off, and basketball started Monday morning or Monday night. So that was our switch of
Yeah, the
seasons.
sports didn't run into each other. Even when I played, there was a time for football, then basketball, then baseball.
Yeah.
Baseball did not start until March 1st.
So-
And you could play all three sports.
Yeah.
So with that being said, being that both of you guys have raised boys that played at the collegiate level, if not the pro level, how was that? How was teaching, baseball, did you always know that baseball was going to be your son's main sport? Or were you kind of just letting them play it out and see where they were going to take their athletic careers?
We never expected to go beyond high school. His son started playing baseball in high school. That's when we started thinking of going beyond high school, and he of course did.
I remember when my older brothers were in high school, we went on a trip to Florida in Trishstown. And that's when I think they realized, saw those fields in Florida, like, oh, wow, this is what it's all about. And they got to play on some old minor league parks. And I think that was and then we had a batting cage in our backyard in Hickory, North Carolina. And then when we moved to Maryland, he put a batting cage in our backyard in Maryland. We were hitting all the time, every day, hitting that batting cage.
So you think it was more like, as kids, you and your brothers, Marty, or I guess you recognized that Phil and Mitch and John, all of them, you knew that they were self-driven to take their athletic careers beyond normal high school means. You kind of relied it upon the characteristics of your children versus you guys, pushing them to get to the next level, I should say.
We can't hear you very well.
Oh, they were self-driven. There's no question about it. I mean, I drove them a lot, but they went beyond what I was doing with them. My first son, he would get up at 5 o'clock and go to a farm, and in the top of the barn there was a batting cage there, and a pitching machine. He would hit off that 5 o'clock in the morning on one spotlight, one little light.
And because he worked so hard, it was easy for me. I mean, I was much younger. I was 8 years younger than him. So I just, I watched what he did, and that's what I wanted to do. And same with Uncle Mark. He was a little younger. He didn't work as hard as Mike and I did, but he was probably more athletically gifted than both of us. He ended up getting a great opportunity to play at Georgia Tech. And so he made the most of that opportunity.
Okay, so we know you guys are littered with collegiate athletes in and of itself on the whole Matulia side. Can we get a little family tree here of who's what? So, because by throwing names out, anyone who's not a part of the Matulia household pretty much has no idea who is who and who went where.
Well, I mean, it all started with him, being a 5'7", 145-pound quarterback playing, junior college football.
Mhm.
And that's where it all got started. And then my oldest brother, went to the Citadel on a full scholarship, played 4 years there, had a great career as a catcher. My brother, Mark, played at Georgia Tech. he played for about 2 years. He kind of got hurt. He ended up being a undergrad assistant, then a graduate assistant. But he was there when Georgia Tech won the ACC championship, so he has an ACC championship
Nice.
ring. And then I got hurt also in high school. I got hurt in football, and so my career didn't quite go quite the way I wanted it to. I did end up playing at Grafton University baseball. I just played 1 year, and I wasn't playing very much, and I probably could have stuck with it, but at the time, I just, my heart wasn't in it anymore. Mitchell's cousins, he has 2 cousins that one of his cousins played at the Citadel, and he got drafted by the Cubs. And in the 25th round, he ended up having a great minor league career, made it all the way to AAA. And then his younger brother got drafted right out of high school, and he made it also to AAA. He was in the Rays organization. So I think the younger one, if he would have maybe, mistake that both of them made is they got married.
They got involved in
Word to the wise, huh?
Yeah.
Shocker.
They're following Papa steps,
Yeah, the younger one could have made it, I thought, but he got married. He decided when he went to AAA, they moved him to the normal thing to do is, when somebody from the major leagues goes down to the AAA, they take a player from AAA and move him down to AA. Well, John happened to be that guy, and he didn't like that.
Yeah, he didn't want to go back down.
He didn't want to go back down. So,
Yeah.
he went back up and then he had to go back down again. That was it for him. He lost interest.
Yeah.
But he AAA, that's the way that's what it's for.
Mitchell's cousin John, he had all the tools. He was like Philip. He had an arm, he had length, he had speed. He was a center fielder. He was left-handed, and he had all the tools. He was a 5-tool guy. He went right out of high school. He rookie balls, low A, high A, double A, triple A, all the way through, all in the Rays organization. So he was there probably for about 5 or 6 years.
Well, he had a 7-year career, and he was also with the Rays when they arguably had one of the best farm systems in baseball. I remember that.
Yeah, at that time, and they really had some good players. He played with a lot of guys that made it to the major leagues. I think he played with Longoria for a while, and I'm trying to think some of the other guys, but there were a few.
No, that's awesome. I mean, and then you had Phil go to UTSA, right? And then not Phil. Mitch went to UTSA, and then Phil went to La Tech right after that. So generation upon generation of athletes. I mean, that's super impressive. I mean,
it was kind of fun when Philip was playing that independent ball with the Unicorns up in Michigan. There was a
Unicorns
guy that's on the TV. He was saying about our family. It's like reading Philip's bio. He's like, oh my gosh, this guy's whole family played baseball, and he had brother played college, dad played college, his uncles, and it's like, man, I bet you those guys have some stories to tell.
I think it was when we were in Tampa last week, Nana was saying we went through 25 years of Matulia being on the baseball field, straight.
Oh yeah, we followed once Mitch and I was retired then, so we bought a motorhome and we started following him and then
John
and Matt. 4 of them. We traveled all over the country watching ball games.
I believe you still got one more left.
Ryan. He's
got
playing
Ryan.
First year college ball at Lake Sumter
State College
in Florida.
Yeah,
so he's the last
one, right?
So we'll have to wait for the next generation.
And then it's the next generation, right? Who should be following us.
The thing about that is, like I said before, having all those, for Mitchell and Philip, having older cousins playing, professional baseball, that motivated them. It was inspiring. Mitchell, remember one time we took Mitchell and Joe and Philip to see Matt play in Mobile. He played a 3 or 4 game series, and we drove all the way over from Houston. Spent the week with my sister-in-law, and we went to Matt's game every night. And that stuff inspires kids. I'll never forget when we first moved to Houston. Mitchell was, probably 6 years old. And I remember taking, well, I guess he was probably 6 or 7. I took him and Joe and Philip. We went to see Rice University play at Rice, and that was the year they won the national championship. We saw them in a regional, and the boys would get autographs and that kind of stuff. I mean, that's probably, other than obviously all the hard work that goes into it, the kid has to be inspired. That's what I want to do, because he's not going to put in the work unless he knows, he's first got to have the dream, and then, he's got to understand what it takes, the hard work, the discipline. I mean, think about how many tournaments, we played. And then along with that, the parents have to be committed, because they're, you're putting so much time and money. All your summer vacations are, baseball tournaments. And then
Couldn't
if you
agree
have a
more.
sibling that doesn't play baseball like Joe, he had to tag along all the time. Of course, we would make it up for him in his wrestling tournaments and his football games.
Yeah,
He was sneaking chocolate
he
bars
had
in the
his
back of the
season
car,
too.
We always wondered what people did on weekends. We were always playing ball.
My grass was never the best in the neighborhood, because I couldn't work
My
on
dad can totally relate to
And
that too.
you grow up thinking that like every kid does that, right? You're like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Well, every kid that we knew did that.
Right.
The other kids, we
We're
didn't know
with
what
them,
they were
yeah.
doing on weekends.
Whenever I heard about kids sleeping in on a Saturday, I was like, "You're crazy, man! Like, what are you talking about?"
My
You
dad's too
sleeping on-"
angry to let that happen.
Yeah, we didn't sleep in any time. It was baseball all the time.
I mean, that brings
having
up
3 sons, what else were we going to do? We had 3 athletic sons, and it was baseball, football. We even played basketball. Realized, pretty quickly that not that they weren't any good, but they were going to be too short. And not
I mean,
quite
like, no,
suited for basketball.
it goes without saying, because like I remember, you and Mitch would walk into the zone or something, and then I'd already be there with my dad, and we'd be like literally hitting next to each other. And then, I go off to college, Mitch is off to college, I go back to the zone, and then you're walking in with Phil when he looks like a 6th grade middle schooler with the body of a 11th grader, with the face of a
But
2-year-old.
yeah, even there though, that's the point I was making before. Like when you go into those batting cages, you see all these kids, and kids getting lessons, kids hitting. Say you're 10 years old and you see 12-year-olds and 14-year-olds, and you're like, that's really motivating, because you realize, oh wow, I'm not as good as I think I am, and I've got to get better, and I want to get better. And I think sometimes kids that don't have that opportunity, they don't really know like how good other kids are. So that's one of the positives of the whole select baseball thing, is you do realize that there's a lot of good players out there. There's a lot of negatives too, but that is one of the positives.
And you guys are both obviously longtime coaches as well. How many days per week do you feel like baseball players specifically should be practicing their craft in season and off season?
Wow. Well, my youngest grandson now, Ryan, I think we practice every day of the week, 7 days a week. Go to church on Sunday and get out of church and go to the field and hit. Too much is he wanted to go. For times I said, oh, no, I want to hit. So we go 7 days a week.
I think the only time that was too much was some of those tournaments.
Oh yeah,
when you're playing 4 games in one day, that's ridiculous. That's just, and the problem with that is you get in bad habits. It's tired, everybody's upset, you get parents, agitated, the umpires, by the time they've gotten to their 5th game in a day, they're not doing a good job. No one's really happy in that situation. So I do think there's the whole select baseball, tournament baseball, they really got to do a reevaluation of how things are done. Like I've always believed there was a way to do, like maybe say 1 or 2 games on between a Thursday and Friday night, so that you don't have so many games on the weekend. Maybe 2 games on Saturday and 2 games on Sunday. That's enough.
That's max.
More than 2 games in one day is just too much for kids of any level. And I think that's the biggest mistake right now in select baseball. And it's gotten too, and from what I understand from you guys, it's gotten even worse. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, the travel ball.
That's what burns out kids is
Yes.
playing too many games
and traveling.
100%.
I completely, because it's tough on the parents just as it is the kids as well. It's like that's a ton of money. That's a ton of driving and travel that they have to do. So
Ton
do
of
you feel like
money.
playing 2 tournaments a month is ideal rather than like playing every single weekend? Because obviously in those tournaments, you're not getting as many quality, you're not getting as many swings. You're not really developing as much as a player when you're playing just 5 games in a day.
No, no, you're not.
Well, and the other thing too is you didn't get as much practice. Like in select ball, you're really only practicing twice a week, and one of those practices is just all hitting. So you're really not getting you don't get as enough infield, you don't get enough outfield practice, you don't do any base running. All the other intangibles, you're really not learning how to be a good baseball player. So then when these guys get into high school and you are practicing every day, you find out pretty quickly who kids that really aren't good baseball players. It's not always about skill either. They just don't understand the intangibles of the game. Like they're poor base runners, or they don't understand all the nuances of the game.
It's unfortunate because I think a lot of the select world has become a money grab, and they're putting on all these tournaments. It's obviously lucrative. And we had Gabe Solis, he was a scout for the Cincinnati Reds, come on our podcast, and he talked about how in countries like the Dominican Republic and Cuba, they emphasize more on practice than they do games. They practice every day. They don't play near as many games as like the select kids growing up play.
Well, that's my youngest grandson, who was the last one I coached. He played for Chet Lemon, and Chet Lemon had an indoor facility on the third floor, a full infield, full major league infield, and then 10 batting cages. And our practices were great in there. Then on the weekend, the traveling I thought was too much. We were getting more out of practicing with Chet. He was showing him more. But if you travel, to the other end of town or something and play the game, or the next town, okay. But from Florida to Alabama,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
There's so much talent in Florida and in Texas.
Absolutely, there
You don't
is.
need to leave Orlando area. You don't need to leave Houston
No.
area.
No way. No
I remember
way.
one tournament that Philip had. We were up in Dallas, and we played against a team from Houston that we played all the time in the championship. It's like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
We could have played this team, back in Humboldt. Like, what are we doing here in Dallas?
Oh, that's fun. I literally just had a group of 10-year-olds. Their big trip was to Omaha, Nebraska, because they're gonna go see the World Series and then play their own version of the World Series. And they lost to a team from Houston. They traveled all that way and lost to a team from Houston that they play every tournament.
Yeah.
And they came back down and they go, we played 3 teams from Houston. We went all the way to Nebraska. We played 3 teams from Houston, lost to a team from Houston,
Yeah.
beat the snot out of the only team from Nebraska.
Yeah.
And then that was it. And I was like,
teams weren't any better. I mean, we could have gone 10 miles south and played a team just as good as going to Georgia and playing.
right.
Oh. I mean, maybe once a summer doing a trip like that. It's fun for the kids. And as long as the parents understand, like, this is, it's a vacation. We're going to be playing baseball every day. We're not going to, maybe not going to be able to go to the water park or the beach, once it's all over, or maybe you want to spend another day. But yeah, I mean, so once a summer, okay, it's a vacation, a baseball vacation. These, week in, week out, having to drive on the other side of Houston to play the same teams we could play in our backyard, that's just silly.
We travel out of the state.
Yeah. Understand. And so I got one question. I know in baseball, I'd say Christianity has a huge part of baseball culture and the game itself, anywhere from people doing prayers before they get onto the field, people wearing their Jesus pieces, all that stuff. So as long devoted Christians, I know specifically in your guys' family, Christianity is a huge part, plays a huge role in not only baseball, but y'all's lives. How was it juggling, your faith, keeping the faith, being devout Christians while, playing competitive baseball? Because, tournaments run on Sundays all the time. They run the whole weekend. So
I mean, it wasn't impossible. Like, one of the things I did, and I'm very proud of that. I mean, I wish sometimes I could have been more intentional about our faith. But every weekend, no matter what the schedule was, like I would look at that schedule on Wednesday, and we're Catholic. And so I had a directory of all the Catholic churches in the Houston area. And I would figure out, like, based on our bracket, when we could go to mass. So sometimes, we had to go to 7 o'clock in the morning in full uniform. Sometimes, there was even a time where we had to go to the Spanish mass at 1 o'clock in the afternoon because that was the only mass that was going to work. But we always did. We never missed a mass. And even when we were on the road, like I can remember in Beaumont going to, a Catholic church, a couple of times there when we had tournaments. And I'm pretty sure we were the only ones doing that.
Exactly.
So I think that hopefully it made an impression on our boys. There were some times, like there was times where I led like a little, prayer Bible study or whatever before a game. And some of the other dads might do a little, maybe look at a scripture passage or whatever. But I do think, parents really do have to make that commitment that, and like another example is like Wednesday night, we had, that's when they had their religious education, like, confirmation classes and so forth. And, there were, we had to let the coach know that, Wednesday nights our sons have to go to church for this. And, so like sometimes we had to maybe leave a little early from practice or, most times it worked out, but you really have to really make an intentional decision. Like, this isn't a priority for our family, and we're not going to allow, baseball to be our God. We really have to be intentional about it. And, and I talked to a lot of parents, and they really admired that we would go to mass.
That's not the norm.
Yeah.
That's not the norm. Maybe one or two of the kids would go to church. And I think
I remember being in full uniform in those pews.
I hated playing Sunday morning. There's one thing I could change is that there should be no Sunday morning game.
Exactly.
Play a doubleheader Sunday afternoon, semifinal, championship, and that's it. Everybody else is, you eliminate all the other teams Saturday night, and you come back with 4 teams on Sunday afternoon. That's it.
Yeah,
and that'd be better for the umpires too, because then they're only doing 2 games on Sunday afternoon. They're fresh. They're not making bad calls because they just want to get out of there. And, playing late at night, Sunday night, especially during the school year, because, you start playing in March and April, it's still school. You still have school the next day. And, that's hard on kids.
No, it really is. That's one of the main reasons when I coach on Sundays. A lot of people only have time on Sundays. So when I coach on Sundays, I start from like 1 to 5 because a lot of the kids have church in the morning. And why am I going to go be available to coach people that are in church?
Right.
It just doesn't make sense. And then I don't coach Wednesdays either because I know Wednesdays is a huge church day for people during the week. So, it kind of makes sense. And then I've actually had students tell me like, oh, I can't, I'm at church those days. Like Ethan Allen's huge church goer, one of our best kids. And he's like, I'm not available to you guys on Wednesday because I go to church all the way out on the north side of Houston. I'm not going to be available to do that. Right. And we're like, okay, we'll work around that. There's 6 other days of the week.
Yeah, I agree with Marty. And it takes Sunday and just forget playing on Sunday.
The Sunday afternoon.
Like we do, we practice on Sunday afternoon. Batting practice in the cage, but that was it.
Yeah. When I played in the Baltimore Beltway League, which was like kind of a precursor to select, it was, we would play Tuesday night, Thursday night, doubleheader Saturday, doubleheader Sunday, all summer long. Like there were no tournaments. You had a schedule. You played the teams in West Baltimore, that was your division, and then there were teams in East Baltimore, that was another division. So you only played the team in the other division, like one of those double headers, on a weekend, because you were traveling a little bit further. But, we played 100 games one summer. I remember when I was 12, 13, and that was the schedule. But we didn't have these tournaments. You maybe had an end of the season tournament, for World Series or whatever.
But that was in Baltimore. Baltimore's a big city, so you could play all over Baltimore and quality play.
Yeah.
But you don't need to go out of state and travel.
And all the teams were good. You would just like Major League Baseball. You beat them sometimes, you lose to them sometimes. Everybody was. We were we won the league, but we were just, probably a little bit above 500, just because but it was a good league. The fields were crappy, but it wasn't like the fields you guys have in Houston or in Florida.
or
The
turf
fields were garbage.
Yeah, they're
and
turf now, which
I'd
I
be
missed the
picking
natural
glass
surface.
and third base.
I missed the rocks on the infield. It made you better.
Builds character for sure. These kids have it so spoiled now they don't even know.
Oh yeah, fields. You should never make a fielding error. I mean, especially on turf. Like, there's no reason to ever make a
Level
fielding.
grade turf. It's the most smoothest surface ever. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't even know. It baffles me when I see kids make reckless errors, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
yeah.
And talking about the athletes today too, kids have access to so much information out there, whether it be
way
Too much.
too much.
too much. And so when is the point where stick to the basics needs to be the message to the younger generation?
Well, first of all, I call it paralysis by analysis. And one of the things that I remember him telling me, like whenever I was in a slump or something, he'd just say, look, just focus on one thing. See the ball, hit the ball. That's what Pete Rose used to say. Whenever you're in a slump, you just got to say, you know what, I'm just going to focus on hitting the ball back up the middle. That's all I'm going to focus on. And then, then you get going again. But yeah, and one of the things too, it's interesting, like from when I started playing to when I started coaching, even now, the hitting philosophies have changed somewhat, but it's still the same game, but these hitting philosophies kind of come and go, and they're sort of cyclical. And, now it's about, hitting for power and, elevating the ball. And it wasn't like that when I played. It was all about hitting line drives, hitting for high average, getting on base. Guys didn't hit very many home runs. And of course, I played like him. I played on a lot of fields that didn't have fences. So, guys could play, in the boondocks back there. You weren't going to hit it, beyond them. So hit line drives, find those gaps. And,
One thing that I see missing in pregame, the kids do not play pepper. And I used to have my kids hitting pepper in the backyard. I mean, swinging at the ball hard, two
National
fielders
pastime.
and one batter, and
Yes.
throwing hard. And
it keeps your eye on the ball.
oh my
just
goodness.
and also remember, when this is not something is taught, I don't think as much, hitting the ball where it's pitched. The Ted Williams philosophy: if the ball's outside, you're going to go to right, hit the right field, wait on it. And setting up the tee that way. That's something that, we really learned a lot, hitting with the pitch, not striking out. Like, I very rarely ever struck out. And so it's kind of frustrating seeing Philip strike out all the time.
My oldest son struck out 21 times in 4 years in college.
Yeah.
21 times.
Yeah.
That's pretty
But
impressive.
I didn't hit home runs either, so.
Well, how important do you think it is for athletes to play their game? Like, if you're a second baseman, for example, you shouldn't go up there with the same approach as an Aaron Judge, right? There needs to be guys in the lineup that hit for average, that hit to get on base, and maybe two guys in the lineup that hit for home runs. Would you agree?
Well, that's not the way they do it now. They're all swinging for the fences. And Ryan, my youngest one, I told him, you can't swing for the fences. You got 2 strikes. You got to just swing to get a hit. Certainly not for the fence. And he had a high batting average in high school. He batted high. He didn't hit many home runs. But you Mitchell hit home
Both of
runs
you
and
had high
you've had a high batting average.
I remember when I was in college, so that's when the first time I noticed the philosophy changing. Because, like, I remember, hitting a weak ground ball to second base, and I had 2 strikes on me. And my philosophy always was, hey, hit the ball, try to hit it somewhere with 2 strikes. My coach sat me down. He said, why did you give up that at bat? And I said, well, I had 2 strikes and it was a strike, He goes, what's the difference between a weak ground ball to second and a strikeout? I go, well, I guess nothing, because that's the point. So that's when the philosophy started changing, that coaches were willing to have strikeouts, the chance of a guy hitting the ball hard, getting an extra base hit. So, there's pros and cons to that. And
Yeah, I don't agree with that philosophy because this past year in high school, we had a good team. I didn't coach it, but my son coached, and the most of the kids swung for the fences, and we didn't hit any home runs. I think we hit 3 all year. The
It's a
swings
deep
were
porch. Yeah.
all deep, and Ryan hit line drives, and he had a big batting average.
Yeah.
On
And I think
base
it
a
goes.
lot,
I
scored a
think it,
lot.
A
and I
lot of
think
it
it goes
depends on
back
where you
to.
play too. I mean, I think one of the reasons why Philip developed the way he did, as a home run hitter and also high strikeouts, because he had a short porch in right field at La Tech. And so the philosophy was, I mean, Philip almost hit, home run every other game. That was great. It was, but he also struck out a lot, because of that. That was the philosophy. But, that's how because the field, they played to the field.
Wow. And the way Jordan and I teach hitting is the Ted Williams, the Tony Gwynn philosophy. Be a pure hitter first. The power will come with time. Home runs,
Exactly.
accidents, you stay extended through the baseball. You meet the ball flush. The ball is going to go as the
That's
velocity increases
exactly right.
as you get stronger with age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I agree. I think I remember going to a tournament in Jupiter for the perfect game and having all the scouts come in. And I think my dad was listening and I hit a shot through the 4-hole line drive single, and like scouts were watching, MLB scouts, college scouts were watching, turned a couple heads. And then I had this 6'4" teammate. Last name was Walker. And I mean, he just hit a moonshot pop up. It was a pop up. Guys on the track though, camping under it for 3 seconds, like in left center, catches it. Still a pop up, but the scouts go look at him, saw that, and go, we can work with that, and like, and I mean, but just on projectability, that's like kind of going back to what you said, Marty, shifting, right? Everything's kind of shifting, like. And then, you get a guy like me and Mitch, we batted 500 in high school. Mitch had home runs to show for it. He had like 3 times as many home runs as I did, but I mean, my philosophy was line drives. And then when I got to college, my college coach told me, I got 8 other guys that could put the ball out. I was like, how many guys I can get on base to double up those runs? He goes, I only got 1. So he goes, if you want a starting spot in this lineup, you're going to have to find a way to get on base because I don't need dudes to jack it out 1 through 9. Having guys like, I think I played a big part in why that program succeeded because I was always on base. And I know Mitch loved it when I was always on base in front of him. And he just literally swung me in. I mean, I didn't get
Really
as many steals as I should have, but Mitch swung me in all the time.
One of the things that you guys do, that I think is so important, you see more and more, you have to be a good athlete and like speed. Speed is so important in baseball. And, kids from an early age, they need to develop, they need to be good athletes. They need to develop and that's something that you guys are teaching, and that's really important because that's one thing, that those are the guys that they give a chance to. What you say is right. They figure, well, we can, he might have some bad habits hitting, but we think we can correct those. You really can't, once a kid's 18, you really can't teach them how to get any faster. I mean, it is what it is. And so, kids at a younger age, I think they can do, and that's why I think too, playing other sports is important
At a younger
because
age, yeah.
you learn certain, like in basketball, you learn certain quickness in basketball, football, you're learning conditioning and hard work and, so there's different skill sets you learn toughness in football, obviously. And, all those things helped our sons, playing all 3 of those sports.
Yep.
Really helped them.
Yeah. Our sons played all of them also. My sons.
Yes.
Certainly.
I loved football. Football is my favorite sport.
Mine.
I got hurt. I got hurt and I didn't get any bigger.
I think all of us got hurt in football.
But the toughest, I don't think a lot of kids realize like how tough big league baseball players are just to play 162 games a year plus some. It's like those guys are physically and mentally tough, right? And so we always tell kids, hey, don't just stick to baseball at age like 9. Try
Yeah.
to do something physical, whether it be martial arts, football, something. And then when you get to high school, if you want to specialize in one, that's fine, right?
Yeah, that's about where maybe you should start
Yeah,
specializing in high school.
by 8th grade, 8th, 9th grade, you
Well,
kind of figure it out.
You probably have to do that because the teams overlap in
Yeah.
high school.
Right. I think the only guys that can get away with it is if you're built like Bo Jackson or Aaron Judge, just a one-off situation.
Yeah, you can just walk on at any time.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
still, you missed 2 football games or something.
Yeah, no,
Right.
you do.
Jordan would always miss the first 2 tournaments of the baseball season because of basketball.
Yeah.
One
then
of the things,
basketball,
you
you missed the
guys
first 2
playing in
tournaments of
Houston,
football.
in that heat, playing that 100-degree heat with the humidity, I mean, and catching, all those games. I mean, that's something too that you can't teach. You play in that kind of environment, and you do have a certain toughness about you that maybe the other guys don't have because you have played in that kind of weather. Yes, I think that does go a long way as well.
Agree more. Well, Pops, Papa, that's all the time we have for today. We really appreciate you guys coming on. We're
No,
going
we appreciate it. It's already been a quick 45 minutes.
Yeah, it has been.
And it just flies by when we're talking shop and baseball. But we're really glad we can get you guys on, and thank you for taking time out of this precious Sunday to get on here with us. And
We're missing a ball game on TV.
Yeah, guys will keep us
Yankees Red Sox
watching
fan,
baseball.
Jordan.
they're not even Yankees or Red Sox fans. I don't know
No,
what they're
neither one.
We watched golf earlier this afternoon.
Well, somebody needs
We
to let
get
them know that they
frustrated
can
with that
record
because
these games.
they can do things that we can't do. And that's
Oh, my
frustrating.
goodness.
I was watching literally cornhole last week because of that dead week of sports. So I'm ready for football season to come on. I'm ready for baseball season to get nasty again, and I'm ready for all these.
October is like the best month, man.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The cooler weather. It's just a win for everybody. I can't wait. But thank you guys for coming on. That'll be it for this episode of the In and Out Talks podcast. Hopefully everything comes out and we can launch it live. And then if it ends up working out, then we can do this a 4-call way where, Papa's at home and then Pops is in Alabama and then Mitch is at his place and then I'm at my place, and we can do a 4-way call. And then we can even get the uncles on, and then we can make it a whole Matulia affair if this ends up working out well. I'm going to stop recording.
Make sure you tell all those female fans out there, he's been married 66 years and I've been married 32 years. So we're taken. So, those women out there.
Yeah, tough market these days. I'll be sure to let all the women and gentlemen know.
Whatever you're into.
Whatever you're into, we don't judge here. Not a tier 1 performance, but I'll stop the
5, 4, 3,